Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It is fantastic to have you here. I'm building a mountain bike. I've got no idea what I'm doing, but I am thrilled that we get to share the journey with you. So let's jump in. Before we jump in, today's sponsor is Audible, which has the largest selection of audiobooks anywhere, and you can get started listening to a free audiobook and unlimited Audible originals with a free Audible trial by going to audible.com/forge or by texting FORGE to 500 500. Let's jump back in. First step for the day is going to be mitering the seat tube so it fits into the bottom bracket. So we're going to get set up for that. The next step is going to be cutting down the down tube and then mitering the ends. I'm going to start off with the bottom bracket side. But there's something I need to be careful about, and that's that we're using butted tubing. And I wouldn't have thought about this problem if it wasn't for the COBRA frame building videos on YouTube. But of course, butted tubing, as I explained in the first episode, thinner in the middle than it is on the ends, but, get it? They don't manufacture them with an even amount of butting at either side. This example here has 90 millimeters of butting on one end, and then 60 millimeters on the other. So in order to find which end has the most butting, which is the end that wants to be put towards the head tube, thank you to Andrew at Bike Fab Supply for the tips, I'm going to be balancing the tube, and then we're going to cut down the ends a little bit and start mitering. Using these blocks, I was able to take one hole saw cut across this way, one up here, and we've been inching it in, adjusting our angles so that we get this fit up from the down tube to the seat tube, nice and neat. What you'll see, however, is it's not all the way there because we need that down tube to line up there. Right now it lines up here. That's probably enough fiddling with the mill. Final fitting of this, probably gonna be hand files. Macaroni! Oh! Look at that! I'm 2 millimeters off of where I need to be, so this needs to pivot down some more. I want this to be 13 millimeters from the end of this head tube. But it is starting to come together and it's starting to look like a bike. Yes! All right, it's just occurred to me, I might be making a mistake. If you imagine this bike with this fork, you turn it, the fork would hit this. Not good. So I want to make sure that we have the clearance for a fork on the frame we build. Because depending on how far up or down we put this down tube, might mean we create a problem. Yep, we're going to be okay. We're not going to hit the fork on the down tube. That's good. Okay, the seat tube is probably going to be the actual seat tube we use. This is going to be a test. This here is our only top tube in this diameter remaining. And I want to use this thin one. So I gotta get it right. Let's miter this and get it to fit. I love it. That's that miter. Let's now inch in this side. Didn't change hold saw diameter. Oh, wow, we are close, ladies and gentlemen. It is a good day when it fits in there just a little bit. It's gonna work. More material needs to go off though. Of course, the further up here I go, the more this is gonna be able to swing up the seat tube. Look at that! It is the front triangle of a bicycle! Assembled, we've got our miters put together. I just can't believe it. This is so cool. With our miters done, however, we need to get back to work on the seat tube because we're gonna be putting a dropper post in. A dropper post is basically a way to really quickly have your saddle go up and down. So if you're going over rough stuff in a descent, you can drop your saddle and get it out of the way and then quickly get it back up, like an office chair. And the bore that the dropper post goes in needs to be very accurate. It needs to be, I think, 30.9 millimeters. This tubing has too thin a wall for that, and so that's where this comes in. This is a sleeve that I'm gonna weld in. This has the right diameter up here, but it does mean we need to cut the seat post down so we keep the same length. So we'll measure this, cut the seat post down, and then do a little turning on the lathe so it fits in nicely as well. Alrighty, that is the seat tube collar in place with a little interference fit. I heated up the outside female portion so the male portion could go in. As it shrinks, it's gonna hold it real nice and tight. We are gonna need to lay a bead in there with the TIG welder. That's right, this is where it's starting to get real. And now that I start making big, serious mistakes when I don't do things right. So fingers crossed, I'll take it easy and I'll be able to lay down some halfway decent beads. Alrighty, I did a little bit of practice. At this point, there's nothing to it but to do it. I know it's not gonna be perfect, but there's a point where you just gotta try. It's time to try. This is gonna go something, something. Oh boy. Summon that inner TIG welder that you know has always been there, even though you've never met him. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah! I'm gonna mess it up. I started off a little cold with the welder. We started to have a little bit of improvement. It's a little wonky. It's not the nicest thing in the world, but by goodness, it's a darn sight better than what I was able to do a week ago. I'm gonna go grind this flush on the belt grinder in the grinding room, and then we're gonna polish up this entire tube, make it look nice and neat. Like it when you do it right there. Swing your hips when you're talking like that. Well, this is a shock and a horror. I can't even find the weld seam. Even knowing where it is, I can't spot it. So I'm just thrilled about that, because it means that we probably actually stuck the two pieces of metal together quarterly decent. Remember, that was day one, and now I can't even tell the welder's there. I'm happy about that improvement. So with that seat tube collar in place, it means that we can now prepare our tightening system for the seat tube. We're going to have a slot running down the back of the seat tube. We'll have about a 1/4 inch of tightening ability on the seat post. Alrighty, that is how we're going to be tightening the dropper post, which connects to the seat post, down onto this. Now, I did a little bit of looking as to which side you're meant to put these on, and some people put this on the front, towards the front of the bike. Some people put it on the back. The downside to it being on the rear is there's the opportunity for more ingress of dirt from that rear tire, but it's where we've got it. And since we're a little short of space up on the front, I feel like it makes sense. Our next step is to prep all of this for welding. No, I know what needs to be done. I need to drill vent holes. Alright, so what I now want to do is I want to work out where on the tubes our water bottles go. Again, we are in BikeCAD Pro now. I'm going to right click, start linear dimension, 295 millimeters, start linear dimension, end linear dimension, 424. Now time for the bear spray mount. Alrighty, it's boss welding time. These are the little threaded bits that we're going to be able to screw, in this case, our bear spray to. On the other pieces of pipe, our water bottles too. I got given some advice by Pat Banks, Limit Fabrications, who's been helping me a lot with this build. And that advice was to solder these in place. I've never silver soldered anything like this before. In fact, the only soldering that I've ever really done has been soldering together loops for jewelry. I definitely don't feel up for the task of soldering this, so I'm going to do that stupid thing and ignore a professional's advice. Hopefully I don't pay the consequences for it with a broken bike, but I'm going to TIG weld them. Classic Alec, get given good advice and you don't even follow it. This has been a daunting few days. Some of the first beads have now been laid on the bike frame, and miraculously, I haven't poked a single hole through this tiny, tiny thin tubing. How that happened, I didn't know. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more blown through holes. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more struggle, but for an amateur, I'm pleased with the progress we're making. I'm pleased with how this is looking, and I'm so grateful that we've been able to bring you along, and we're going to keep bringing you along this project and this journey. Today's sponsor has been Audible, which has the largest selection of audiobooks anywhere, and I absolutely love Audible. As you might tell by this build, I've been getting into cycling a lot, and on my long bike rides in the Montana gravel, I've been enjoying listening to audiobooks. One that I recently finished was Jack Carr's Savage Son. It's the third novel of Jack Carr's, who's a former Navy SEAL, and the books follow the character James Reese as he goes on all sorts of adventures, doing all sorts of grim things. The audiobooks are fantastic. I've listened to all three of Jack Carr's. But I've also been listening to audiobooks that are going to help me develop as a business owner, and Rework is one of those helping me with my time management. I really hope you give Audible a try, because you can get a 30-day free trial by going to audible.com/forge, and when you go there, you're going to get 1 month for free, which means you can listen to whatever you want for free. On top of that, you'll be getting unlimited Audible originals with that free trial. So go to audible.com/forge or text FORGE to 500-500. Thank you, Audible, for sponsoring this. Thank you guys for supporting our sponsors. Thank you all for watching. See you very soon. Bye-bye.